This is the iPhone X, the phone Apple considers to be the future of the smartphone. This is the Pixel 2 XL, who Google defines as an answer to asking more of your phone. It's hard to declare a winner between my two favorite smartphones of 2017. This is not really an argument of iOS versus Android because these phones are about much more than their operating systems. This is more about which phone does what best, and if I had to pick only one, well, prepare to be shocked. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocket Now, and this is iPhone X versus Google Pixel 2 XL. Side by side, it's clear that one company has more experience building hardware than the other. The iPhone is dubbed a 10 because it celebrates 10 years of history, and this is barely Google's second attempt at taking smartphones seriously. The result is an iPhone that looks like nothing else. Call it the visual future if you may. While the Pixel 2 XL is more of an iteration of current designs. It took Apple 10 years to figure out how to make an iPhone that's mostly display, and this serves certain advantages over the Pixel. For starters, the 10 nearly kills the bezel with an insane 83% screen-to-body ratio compared to 76%. This means that even if both devices have nearly the same screen size, the Pixel 2 XL is 14mm taller, 6mm wider, 0.2mm thicker, and 1 gram heavier. This is one of the main reasons why it's really hard for me to leave the iPhone. It has a phablet screen on a regular smartphone body. The iPhone also implements OLED in a better way, with more accurate colors and less of a color shift when seen from an angle. It supports the latest standards like Dolby Vision and HDR10, while we still have no information from Google on its claims. About the only spot where the Pixel wins is in a bit more resolution, giving it 90 more pixels per inch. The fact that it abides to the 18:9 standard versus Apple's odd 19.5:9, and that this always-on display is very handy. Also, in the Pixel's defense, I'll give it points for its implementation of stereo speakers.
Phones have become the tool that you'll be using most throughout the day.
I mean, yes, the iPhone has a very loud solution,
Phones have become the tool that you'll be using most throughout the day.
but the black bezels on the Pixel, matched with the front-firing speakers, have proven to be more immersive for content consumption. Calling a winner in build quality is a tough one. The stainless steel frame is stronger than the Pixel's aluminum. The blend of glass on the iPhone feels great in the hand. But break any portion of the back of the 10 and you're looking at nearly $500 to get it replaced. Only 1/3 of the Pixel's back is made of glass, and the premier coating on the aluminum contributes to a very nice feel in the hand. I'm going to add the spec sheet because I know a lot of you like it, but these are the two phones where that list doesn't really matter at all. Really, and what's most important for consumers, the iPhone's higher tier storage option doubles that of the Pixel, obviously for more money. Only the iPhone has Qi wireless charging given the glass back. The Pixel abides to a more common standard with a fingerprint scanner at the back, while the iPhone's new party trick is Face ID, whether you like it or not. And yes, both devices are IP67 water and dust resistant. Now, for those of you that thought that the iPhone won the comparison only through hardware, well, that's about to change. If the iPhones seem like more of the future when it comes to hardware and design, the future of software belongs to the Pixel 2 XL. No, this is not me calling Android better, but this is me saying that Google is doing a better job at evolving its origins. Like for example, the whole purpose of having a phablet is to be able to do more with your display given the added screen real estate. But it seems that Apple hasn't really gotten that memo. Android Oreo allows the Pixel to have picture-in-picture mode for content consumption. Just like every other Android phone, there's also split-window multitasking. Its dense approach to the launcher gives users flexibility to show whatever you want wherever you want on the screen, and these Google Earth wallpapers are simply awesome. Now, in the iPhone X's defense, I have to admit that this new gesture approach to the UI feels very natural. Swipe up for home, just like if you were throwing the app to the launcher. Swipe to the side to quickly switch between applications. Swipe down for reachability. All these gestures make much more sense than the combination of home button presses that existed before. I also love how you can set notifications to only show on the lock screen whenever the phone detects your face. Like seriously, every phone should do this. About the only change that I don't praise is having notifications be a swipe from the top left and Control Center a swipe from the top right. And last but not least, the fact that iOS 11 still looks pretty much like iOS 1, where Android has aged very well with Oreo. And when it comes to the user experience, we're going to continue adding points in favor of the Pixel. And about the only thing where both phones are comparable is in the fluidness of their user interfaces, since you really won't see stutter or lag either way. It doesn't really matter if you're playing a game or if you're moving around apps or services. I'm going to give phone calls to the Pixel 2 XL as well. The sound is both louder and deeper over the earpiece, though the experience through the speaker is nearly identical. And speaking of calls, one of the major reasons why it's so hard for me to leave a Pixel is Project Fi. Google's MVNO is extremely reliable in the US since it jumps between the networks of 3 carriers. It's also invaluable for travel given its inexpensive approach to roaming. Best of all, it's now pretty much unlimited for a lot less money than the cost of unlimited on other carriers. And you know what? I'm also going to give the battery life topic to the Pixel. Historically, iPhone phablets have been more efficient about power management, but you can scratch the iPhone X from the list. Seriously, I can barely reach end of day on a single charge, performing worse than even the small iPhone 8. The Pixel, on the other hand, is a beast. Those of you looking for endurance, this is one of those phones where the last thing you'll be looking at is the battery icon throughout the day. And then the final nail in the coffin of the iPhone X, let's talk about these cameras. Now, disclaimer, I'm not saying that the iPhone X takes bad photos. On the contrary, it takes great photos. But you'd have to compare the results of the Pixel to understand what I mean. I used this night shot to explain the difference to my friends. Look at the iPhone shot. You can clearly see that a flash was used and that there's good detail for a night shot. Okay, this is that same photo taken by the Pixel 2 XL. No, there are no filters on this photo, and notice how on the Pixel you can see the bar behind us where on the iPhone it's barely noticeable. Okay, this is what I mean. The Pixel 2 XL just annihilates every single smartphone camera of 2017. For the sake of this comparison, both phones do great during the day, with awesome detail and saturation, and the same can be said at night, but the Pixel's software approach to photography ensures a delightful and steady photo every single time. To the iPhone's defense, I'd call its photos more accurate to what the eye is currently seeing, but the results from the Pixel are more eye-pleasing. And I'm sorry iPhone X, but your portrait mode is terrible. The tricks are nice, but accuracy feels more like an alpha, not really a beta. And all this with the added depth sensor on the selfie camera and the secondary lens on the primary. This phone has a hard time detecting borders, and it completely butchers glass. It definitely needs work. By contrast, the Pixel gets it right most of the time. It's not perfect, and it doesn't have the tricks of the iPhone X, but for a phone that lacks extra hardware and does everything through software, I have to say I'm extremely impressed. I'll give points to the iPhone in video recording given how it does 240 frames per second at 1080p and 4K recording at 60 frames per second. Still, video from both devices in normal conditions is very well implemented regardless. And then finally, I'm going to call this a tie when it comes to storage management. Surely the Pixel has an edge because it does give you free cloud storage on Google Drive for your photos, but Apple's adoption of HEVC compression makes media consume very little space on the phone. So, bottom line, if I had to declare a winner, if I was forced to pick one phone out of the iPhone X and the Google Pixel 2 XL, believe it or not, but I would choose the Pixel. Really, the main reason why I stick to the iPhone X is because I love the design approach, giving me a phablet for a smaller form factor. I'm also a big fan of the Apple Watch Series 3, particularly for fitness, which requires an iPhone. And yes, applications like Snapchat look better on the iPhone for reasons I don't understand, along with some other odd variances in ecosystem, but then again, that's about it. And absolutely everything else, it's really hard to live without the Pixel 2 XL. It's less expensive than the iPhone X, Project Fi has become a need, This is seriously the best smartphone camera in the industry, and the overall delight of a better implementation of Android is really hard to look away from. It's seriously amazing how software can make a less appealing smartphone win a comparison. Even with all the complaints that Google ended up ironing out over time, the Pixel 2 XL has proven to be a great companion. One that I would highly recommend as the smarter smartphone overall, but one of those cases where you just actually have to go out and give it a try to understand what I mean. What about you? Which one would you pick out of these two? Chime in the comments, and while you're at that, follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. You can follow me on Twitter, Jaime_Rivera, or on Instagram at Jaime Rivera. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.